5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what?
What's going on, everybody? It is Sam here with the Washington Wrestling Network podcast. I'm by myself today. Co-host Matt is in a district meeting over there at WSWCA 3A, along with a lot of other coaches. We understand it's a busy time of year for coaches, but we are delighted to have a really, really cool guest on with us today, Coach Phil McLean from Mead High School, who we've been trying to get on for a long time, and luckily we got him this time. He just got done with his district meeting, and here we are. Been out of the podcast world a little bit. Actually, me personally, I don't think I've done one since Gut Check. So it's been a little while. You guys got to bear with me as we get rolling here. But just wanted to get rolling with just some updates for you guys. We're in district weekend. This is the road to the Dome. And we're so excited that you guys are joining us along this journey, and along with this journey with the Washington Wrestling Network as in our first season as we enter the 2020-24 2025 postseason. And hopefully you guys are enjoying the stuff that we've been putting out there, rankings, our new website, all the good stuff that we've promised you guys in this first season. I know it's been a rocky road. We're learning as we go. But we're here now, and we're so excited for February. Here we are, road to the Dome. Before we get into that, I think we will just want to bring on our illustrious guest, Phil McLean from Mead High School, who just got done with his district meeting. Coach McLean, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, all good. Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's good. Long day, practice, meetings. CD meetings are always a joy, but here we go. That means we're going postseason, so that's exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah. So how did the meeting go? You said you just got out of it. You texted me. I know we're running a little bit late here, but how did the meeting go for you?
It's pretty smooth. I mean, you pretty much know. You can pretty much go 1, 2, 3, and then we draw. And if you don't know, we flip a coin, and it really doesn't matter for the most part. You're making it to the next tournament, and then everybody's 0-0, and you got to wrestle who's in front of you. So
yeah, isn't it a little different this year though, just based on the track wrestling stuff, right?
Yeah.
And some like people need to enter all their records
Yeah.
and all that stuff. Was there anything that came up in your meeting this year with that?
Well, I mean, ours is it's way different. One, because we had less schools, and really the seating criteria, old school, I just look for head to head and common opponent, but you got all this criteria, and I didn't even know what it is. And so hopefully someone knows better than me, and it turns out okay, because I have no idea. And I don't know how track's absolutely going to do that. Me and technology, we don't get along that well. And so I'm just trusting we show up, we slap hands and get after it, and it works out.
I love that. That's how I would treat it too. It's
Yeah,
just like,
it's too much.
I'm quite a bit younger than you, but I kind of have an old soul in that way. It's just like, let's just slap hands and go wrestle and just let it figure itself out. But seems to always be working for you no matter what. I mean, you're back to back state titles in 3A, and you got the jump up to 4A this year. Was that a surprise to you that you were jumping back up to 4A? What did you have any anticipation with that?
No, I mean, the history of Mead is we were always 3A size, but we always opted up to 4A. So all those years, and then I knew, I won't put anyone on the spot, but some other sports wanted to be 3A because that was our size, and you knew that it wasn't going to take very long before we actually became 4A. So I knew it was coming, and I just way back when wanted to stay the same anyway because it's why flop, and they were a really successful school at both levels anyway, but that's the reality. We were 3A. We chose to be 4A, but now we're really 4A.
Now you're truly 4A.
Now we're truly 4A.
Well, welcome aboard. I'm a 4A boy, tried and true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have at Mead up there, with the likes of Tahoma and some of these other
Yeah.
top squads. Not the 3As, no slouch either.
Oh, no.
We got good teams all over the state
Yep.
in any classification. But it should be a fun show at the Dome this year, bringing on at Mead into the 4A class.
Yeah.
So Phil, you're a three-time state champion from Deer Park High School,
Mhm.
and then talk about I know you wrestled in college, wrestled for NIC, and talk about your transition from competing, getting into coaching. How did that come about?
Well, you know what? Even from my high school years, that's the only thing I ever wanted to do is I wanted to be my high school coach. So when I grew up, I wanted to be my Dean Largent, and he was a coach and a teacher. And so that's the only thing I ever wanted to do. And so even in high school, I taught little kids. When I went to I did the North Idaho camps for 35 straight years as a clinician and a help. And so I coached there. Even when I wrestled at North Idaho College, Brett Barnes and I coached at the junior high. He was my assistant coach at North Idaho College. He'd beat me up, and then we'd go watch or coach Post Falls Junior High, which we had the worst team ever. Us two coaches couldn't get a junior high win. And I went to Fresno State. I still coached there. And when I finished, I wasn't even done with school when I got my first job at Gonzaga Prep. So as a head coach before I even finished. So it's just been part of what I've done throughout all my wrestling. When I competed, I coached, and when I finished competing, I coached, and I'm still coaching. I should probably stop.
Yeah. No, we need you. We need you as long as we can. Yeah, you're a legend, and that, I guess, brings me into my next question, or my next statement, I suppose, is from what I understand, is is it an inductee or a nominee for the Washington State Coaches Association Hall of Fame?
Uh,
Inductee.
well, yeah, they did that this November. That was pretty stressful. That was good. Yeah.
Oh,
So they actually did it. They didn't even wait till I quit. They said they can't wait long enough. So they just, maybe that's why they did it, to get me out.
Oh man, well, congrats to you,
Yeah.
and it's well deserved. You have 100, at least from my count, from what I did in my show prep today. You have 100 state placers at Mead High School. Tack on a few more at Gonzaga Prep, and then 23 state champions at Mead High School, which is a incredible accomplishment, and something you should be very proud of, and well deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. And I know you got lots of years left in you. I'm sure you're not. You look happy, you look healthy, and maybe technology
Yeah.
isn't your best suit right now, but
Yeah.
coaching certainly is. And so, what who'd you learn from, I guess, over the
Oh,
over
man.
the years, to become such a successful coach? Who does the coach, the Phil McLean coaching tree come from?
Well, I mean, my high school coach was a guy I would die for. John Owen at North Idaho College fixed all my technique. And I've been around, I did those camps for 35 years. So I went to camp for 3, 4 weeks this summer with some of the best wrestlers in the world would come in, and I was always the demonstration guy. And so I was just immersed in it my whole life. I had the youngest of 6 brothers. And so I started young and early learning. My learning curve's pretty steep. Took a lot of beatings and learned from that. But I just been around it. And a student of the sport and watching good wrestlers. And now you have everything at your fingertips. Back then you just did it because people were around, but now you can find anything. I don't even know how much I forgot.
Is
Been
there
around my whole
is
life.
there even a mentor for you at this point anymore,
Oh
or
yeah.
who do
I
you lean
mean,
on?
well, now my son Tyler, so he's coaching with me, and he's just finished, so he's fresh, so he brings that new perspective of, you know, and my kids teach me every year. You forget I've been really lucky. I've had some really high end kids, and when you have them, you get to do all these great things, and it makes you look really good. And when you have not so high end, you go back to basics and you even forget all the things you do. And so each kid's different, and then you see them in a situation, and you go, "Oh yeah, remember? Okay, we need to do this." And so they teach me every day too. And my coaching staff's awesome. Tyler and Tebbets and Wetzel, all these guys have been around for forever, and they're just immersed in wrestling, and it's like a clinic show every day. So it's
Well,
it's really cool.
I don't want to give away any like secrets heading into district weekend, but like, is there anything with you that's like gosh, I'm really stubborn with this back when I was wrestling in the early 80s. Any technique or style or anything like that. It's like, I'm just not going to give this up because it's worked forever.
You know what's funny about that is I think I change every year. And I'll go see a clinician, the high C, do you lock up high? Do you lock down low? Do you crack? Like everybody changes. I have it the way I do, but I think one of the things we do pretty well is we let kids develop their own, like I like it this way, but that doesn't mean you can do it a different way. There's
100%.
a lot of different ways to do good technique. And what I've learned is, from kids like Ben Mitchell, never would teach a chin whip. And then pretty soon, he's in the JUCO national finals, chin whipping people. And I'm yelling, chin whip, so you never stick too hard to technique because you never know which kid can use it.
Yeah. And there's so many different, body styles
Oh
and weight
man.
classes. You're not going to teach a flyweight the same
Yeah.
stuff that you're going to teach a heavyweight and
Yeah.
all that too. Coach Pete De La Rosa says Tim Mason. Does that ring a bell for you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Coach Mason, he did our big cat wrestling for lots of years. His boys all are wrestling for me. Yeah, he's a wrestling grub, and he's one of those that are submersed in wrestling. You got those wrestling dads with wrestling boys. That's how you have really good programs.
That's awesome. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got a couple of the Mason boys ranked as well. Coach Pete as well, a big friend of the podcast. Coach Pete is doing a
Yeah.
great job, great work for the Washington wrestling community. It says, was he in Vision Quest? Were you in Vision Quest, Coach?
I was not. I was too young, but I knew all the guys in it. My brother was. So
Oh, really?
if you listen to the match, they go and they scout Matt McLean, and he gets lateral dropped in the movie. And we tease him about being a fish. He got pinned, and he said in real life he would have crushed him, but I don't know. But yeah, that was my brother. So my brother's the famous actor. I'm just the sidekick.
Oh man, I just imagine in the Mead wrestling room, we're just listening to the Vision Quest soundtrack on repeat, just over and over and over again. That's fantastic. Coach Boomer from Tahoma says Phil for president. That's
Yeah.
fantastic, Coach Boom. Actually, Coach Feist says that you're the greatest of all time. By the way, so
Oh,
he
boy, they're
gave you your
setting me up. I
flowers this
see how
summer.
they're working. Yeah. They
That's
treat me
awesome.
right. They
Yeah.
treat me right. I like those guys. They're
Yeah,
fun
it's
to
gonna be
compete.
it's gonna be fun when we all get together at the
Oh
dome,
yeah.
especially now that we got you in the 4A corner, where I like to spend most of my time.
Yep.
We'll have to rub elbows down there. What have you learned over the years as a coach, and what advice could you give to this community, this podcast, these people that are listening, especially coaches, to help build a program the way that you've built it over these years? You built a
Oh boy.
dynasty there in Spokane. What can you what have you learned, and what advice could you give?
Well, there's different styles, and I guess my high school coach, what he was really good at is he had a little kids program, and like when I was in high school, I coached it. So like I'm like 21 years old at prep, and I was a head coach in the GSL, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I started a little kids program. I mean, they might have been the worst team ever assembled, but we started a little kids program. A lot of work, but pretty soon, in a few years, instead of 1-10, you're 10-1, and because you get those families and you build a community, that's the biggest thing is, and I think some of our areas missing that when in Mead, and we've worked really hard for that. I'm really proud. We've had our big cat wrestling program since I started, and it's stayed intact. A lot of places start and then the dads leave and it crashes. But it's been there 25 years, and it's a big staple in our community. And I think people trust us because we're not really a wrestling community per se, if you went clientele. But a lot of our kids wrestle, and then we develop them. And they might be bad when they start, but we keep them in and we develop them, and we know that they can be good when they finish. And so we really have a K through 12 in our big cat program. I think that's the key. At prep, I started it right away, and it worked. And at Mead, we started right away. And then every year you're competitive because people are still coming in. And I think we're losing that in some areas where they don't do the little kids programs. Somebody has to do them. We got to get our youth started somewhere. So
Yeah, I think I've learned that in my late 20s, early 30s. Just kind of okay, well, what are these teams doing? Well, they all have good youth programs, right? But
Yep.
like you said, there's a lot of them are helped out by dads,
Yes.
and
No,
and
absolutely.
that those are the bread and butter for keeping those things going.
Yep.
How much do you involve yourself with that? Like
Right.
like, because I know you're spread thin,
Yeah,
coaching a high school
it was
program, but like, if a dad leaves, then what do you do?
well, and that's you have to coach. And so what I've been really lucky about De La Rosa, he said Tim Mason. Well, I was about broke because I was doing practice and little kids afterwards, and my wife's a saint. But you have to do it, and then Tim Mason comes and he gets all these dads in. So then I did less, and now Paul Senescola, who wrestled for me, these kids who graduated come back, their kids are in school, so they're doing it. And so I've just been blessed with like I have these ex wrestlers and now they're dads, and I give them whatever they want, and I do less and less every year.
There you
Um,
go.
I'll do a camp.
Delegation. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I was young, I did it all, and I don't know how I did it, but now I'm old and grouchy, and I may be wiser
Yeah.
because I don't handle 6-year-olds like I used to.
Do you teach at the school, or
Yeah,
what do you do?
yep,
Okay,
yep,
so
yep.
that always helps as well.
It's
Yeah.
that's huge. That's the other thing. If you're not in the building, I don't know how people could do it.
Yeah. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I'm an assistant coach down the road here at
Oh,
Camelback High
nice.
School, and luckily I have a job that allows me to get down there. 4 to 5 times a
Yeah.
week and on weekends and all that. But yeah, if you're not at the school, I don't know how you do it. I got a comment from Logan Ola. This last name sounds familiar. I think he's one of your boys.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
right. And he
So
goes, ask him about average citizens. What is he talking about here?
they have well, they make fun of me because I'm old and I have all these sayings, and I I say, see, look at you don't want to be an average citizen. They just walk out the door after school. The real warriors walk into the room. The average citizens find something better to do. Yeah, the real citizens come into the room and battle.
Oh, I'm gonna steal that one from you, Coach. I like that a lot. I got another one here. I
We need
wrote
to go
you,
to, go to
Joe,
bed.
Phil McLean. He's got the goat
Oh
right
goodness.
there into the Hall of Fame. That's fantastic. So, new format this year, districts to state. We talked about it a little bit. Just you getting out of your district meeting. Is there any thoughts on that? I know that you're kind of just like, hey, let's slap hands and wrestle. But as far as the format goes, are you for it, against it?
Um,
What's your thoughts on it?
I don't mind at all. The 32 man bracket sounded great. And then, I don't want to be a negative that the real application, I don't know if it did. So I'm a old school guy. Like you compete for everything. There's no free rides. And I think the new system, like we were lucky because now we had 4 schools. We're only going to get 2 to the state tournament. We have some weights in those that we have 3 returning state placers.
Yeah.
And I did the numbers and I don't want to throw any under the bus, but the MCC and the GSL had a lot of state placers last year.
Yeah.
Like 70 some to state, not that I know numbers, 30 some placers, and 16 were in the top 4. And some other regions didn't. But what they're doing is they count. Here's my issue. I'm going to go on my own little rant if you don't mind.
Do it. This is
They
your
they
platform.
they count the allocations per number of schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying they make us do all that crap on track wrestling. We certify every wrestler. Well, go by the number of wrestlers. And then if you grow the sport, you get an allocation. But you don't get an allocation for having 8 kids on your team.
Yeah.
And so I would argue that those same schools that do well, if you looked at their numbers, they crush the other schools' numbers. And we're lucky. We had 120 last year. We had over 100 kids turn out. And so that's a lot of kids, but there's a lot of places getting allocations that have 10, 12 kids on a team. And I don't know how to fix that system, but we do it all. We have the numbers. So if just because you have so many schools in your league shouldn't mean you get that many allocations. I want to know how many wrestlers you have. And if you build the sport, you get the allocations. And if you don't, you better do better. But that's my thought. But I like it. Anyway, long story short, the idea of getting all the best kids to state tournament plus some experience is great. How we're doing that right now, I don't know if that's actually happening. We'll see after this district tournament because, MCC, they're tough. And we got some guys, and that's a good district.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll help you out with that. That's kind of our job here as a media platform to, you don't have to do it too much. We'll carry the weight on our shoulders to be able to kind of champion that conversation for you. But I appreciate you sharing those thoughts.
Yeah.
I it's always kind of been an issue, and I don't know if we're exacerbating it even more now or not. I think we kind of have to learn and see with the way that things go this year, and kind of take some data and be
Yeah,
able to,
absolutely.
it's our first year doing it,
Yep. Yep.
and I know WIA is trying as hard as they can,
Yep.
but at the same time, yeah, I echo the sentiment. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, if you're pulling in numbers and you're creating a good program, like, and this, what are we doing with allocations here, and what does that look like, and
Yeah.
so forth.
And
But
and I don't know how you do it because the RPI and all those things, I don't know what the right way is. And people have
yeah,
tournaments. I don't know the answer, but I do know I want the sport to grow, and
yeah,
that should be at the base of how we do things.
yeah. I would imagine a lot of it has to do with the girls wrestling too, and I understand a lot of it has to do with the growth of the girls sport as well. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. At the same time, I'm like, you guys sent how many did you send to state last year?
Oh, a ton. No, it was, and that was
28
before
guys
the
in state or
32. And we had a really tough region. No, we had some good depth. And
yeah.
and that's, and that serves
But you
us.
work for the depth, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
work for that, and you want to be rewarded for it at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So, talk to me a little bit about your college wrestlers. Josh Nywert,
Yeah.
Chase Randall. We try to champion
Oh, yeah.
our college wrestlers as much as we can. We're spread so
Yeah.
thin in our first year here
Yep.
doing this, and I wish we can give them some more love. Do you talk to those guys at all, Chase or
Oh, yeah.
Josh at all? Do they
They
call you? Do they text
they
you?
come
Talk
by.
about that.
They
Yeah.
they come by during Christmas vacations. They say Philip Smith comes by every year.
Oh,
See
don't
these.
bring up that
Oh,
name.
yeah, yeah, I know. But that's the kind of guy they are, real nice. They come by and see their old coach
Oh
and
man.
see what they need. But, Randall, he came back this winter and I was teasing him because he never won a state title for me, but he wins a national title in college. So I'm like, come on. But he's awesome. And Nywert's doing great. He just texted me tonight. He said he's going to watch and do all that, and he's rooting for us. And so he's a different guy, doing great in college and having a great success. And Jerome Smith at St. Cloud State, he's battling, and they all call me about, hey, I'm having trouble finishing single leg. Well, welcome to a real college room. It's tough.
Yeah.
It took me a month to get a takedown. I cried every day. So, but they're doing great, and they come back and see me. Thank goodness, because I love those guys, and most of my wrestlers come back, and that's part of our community and program that I love the most is they're connected and they feel a part of it, and they should be, as they're a big part of it.
Yeah, I was actually gonna I was thinking earlier today, I was like, I should start the podcast by telling Coach McLean that the last time I talked to you, other than us getting ready for the show tonight, I think I had tears in my eyes shaking
Yeah,
your hand after I lost to Phil Smith in the state finals.
yeah.
But he was a dog, man. That's so cool. So he comes back in the room. Do
Oh,
these
yeah.
guys come back in the room during winter break
Yeah, well, when
and all
he
that?
wrestled at Cornell, and he'd come back all the time, and he still comes back. Now he got married, so I didn't see him this year, so I'm gonna have to call him.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
so how do you prep your guys for college, or how much do you talk about it?
Not much,
Yeah.
because college wrestling, like you have to have a burning desire. It's not for everyone, and try to get them in the right place. I've been through it, and I know enough where, everyone wants to go D1 or they want to, you got to find the right place and the right coach for the right kid, and sometimes that's hard, but we can find if a kid wants to wrestle, they can go, and I really believe we have a lot of kids who can do it. They don't believe because they're like, well, but if you stick it out and you persevere, I think you can make it in college. That's
Yeah.
part of it is just a duration, persistence, show up every day and good things happen.
That's cool. I got a comment from Evan James. I don't know if you know him or not, but he says, ask Phil what his most important rule for his team is.
Well, we have one rule, and that's don't let your teammates down.
There you go.
And so that covers a lot of things. A lot of things, like they should be off social media right now, getting ready for bed, so they don't let their teammates down.
Oh, they love you, Coach. They want to see you on the podcast right now. That's
Mhm.
awesome. So, talk about prep for the district tournament here. Are you guys it's snowing here, which is
Yeah,
really weird. I live in
yeah.
Linwood,
Oh
and
boy, yeah.
it's dumping. They get this. They canceled school today. I got a 7 and a 4 year
Oh,
old at home,
geez.
and you're not going to believe this living in Spokane. The there was less than a half an inch on our
Yeah.
grass, and they canceled school today. What
Yeah,
are you guys going to be good to go this weekend?
we're
Because
gonna be good to
my
go.
brother's the head coach of Snohomish girls, and he says that they're going to postpone their district tournament till next weekend,
Oh,
is what it
goodness.
sounds like already. So over here it's chaos because nobody knows what
Yeah.
to do. But on your end,
No, I left my house and I probably had a couple inches. I probably have 4 or 5, and I probably won't even plow. But we're gonna go home and I'm gonna get back to school and we're gonna just be fine.
okay, so you guys
Yeah,
are good to go.
we're good to
Everything's a
go.
full go for this weekend. What's the preparation like? What are the Mead Panthers doing to get ready? What's
Um,
the
y-
practice plans looking like? How are we ramping up for
well,
or
you know,
ramping down?
we go shorter
Okay.
and intense, and you know, really the foundation's built. We work really hard in the beginning to do our daily skill and drill. You know, my kids hate it, but they work hard at it, and they by this time they get it. And right now we're just cleaning up and talking about good positions and where they need to be, and wrestling in the positions where we're good, and drilling those things that they need to, you know, continue to work hard and keep going. So a little short and a little more intense and to the point, and less me coaching and going and more of them flowing and getting after it.
Do you guys go over technique? Do you wrestle more live? How do you structure
Um,
your
I
practices?
mixed that. Well, today I did 2 things, and they were actually both new. See, I'm this old, and I did 2 new things I've never done. I called it,
Showed a
bring
spladle.
yeah, no, I didn't show any technique. A little bit, but, like, individually, but I said it's bring your headgear to practice or bring your headgear to work day,
Okay.
because I'm tired of their headgear sliding down. Why I didn't do it in November, because 'cause I've been watching them. They get a takedown, they have to move their headgear, so we tightened everybody's headgear. So that was one,
There
and
you
then
go.
I did a 6-minute practice, so everything we did was 6 minutes. So we drilled, you know, we were pick, pass, and pull or whatever we're doing 6 minutes, and then my next phase. So everything we did was 6 minutes, whether it was live drilling or technique. And so that was my today. You try to mix it up because it's a long haul between now and the state tournament. You know, we have a Vision Quest day coming up, and we'll do, you know, we try to do some things to get a break, but still get a workout in.
That's awesome. So, talk to me about because we're dealing with this on our team a little bit. Injuries. How do you deal with? Because this seems to be one of the hardest things for me as a coach. Is like, how do you deal with a kid, whether they're really high level, returning
Right.
state champion, all the way down to somebody who's competing for like a final spot at state, who has just kind of emerged and they're just figuring things out. You got different personalities, you got
Yeah,
different levels
absolutely.
of wrestlers. How do you deal with I know each individual is different, but how do you deal with injuries or boo-boos, what we call them on our
Yeah.
team? Is like, how do you manage that with each kid individually?
Well, and it's tough. And this time of year, especially when practice and and they get worried and they get maybe I'm not, they start getting in their mind like, oh, this hurts. Everything hurts this time of year.
Yeah.
The reality is every kid is different. You know, I've had kids who didn't practice the whole week before state and took second state because they had broken ribs. But that kid was tough. And there's others that just need some loving. It's doubt more than an injury.
Yeah.
And then there's some real injuries, and it's individually, but actually what I told them today, and this was the talk, is like, it doesn't matter. You know, we're sick. You're sick, you're hurt, whatever it is. I don't want to hear it. Doesn't matter because we're wrestling Friday. So on Friday, no matter what, you're 110%. There are no injuries, there are no illnesses, coughing, whatever. We're stepping on the mat, we're slapping hands and going. So don't do it. So but you can't help that. That's talking tough, but um, and put that in their mind, like it's not the time to get hurt, and I can't be injured, so I'm not. So hopefully, you know, more mental than anything.
Right. Yeah. I to me, at least on our team, and we're not a Mead. We're a more of a, an up and coming program. We're trying to build something, and so there's really not a whole lot of community. A lot of these wrestlers haven't wrestled a long time, so they don't have that grit as much as other teams
Yeah,
have, or as much as other wrestlers have, and so it's like, are you really injured? Is it in your head? And it seems more often not often than not, it actually is in their head. Yes, Coach Pete, it is Kamiak that I'm coaching at still. But yeah, that's I'm glad that you're echoing the same sentiment as us.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to be, too hard on them, but at the same time, it's just trying to uplift
Yeah.
them and their grittiness. So that's special.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a mental thing, and
yeah.
they got to learn it.
So I guess talk about. I know we got to get through districts, but talk about. I guess, is there any difference between district prep and state prep for you as far as like the
Um,
week leading up to state?
not really. I mean, really, everybody they do video. I'll just worry about our guys, and I can only control what we do. And so our training's pretty similar. We'll try to liven up the practice because it's a little different because you have a system for previous years, and now we have time off before we go to the state tournament more so than ever. And usually those are tough days because that's a long week of practice. Well, now it's a really long week of practice. And that's when they get the nerves and they start reading the social media and how good this kid
Our
is.
stuff, yeah.
Yes. And then they get all, and so we just got to keep their minds in the right place and keep them healthy and do the things that we do individually. We do a lot more individual stuff. Our room's packed. And we just finished JV districts freshman league. So now I have like 35 kids and they're all hot rods and going hard. And I'm like, how much fun is that? I could run those practices all the time because they're seasoned through the year and they're ready to go. And so I think they're fun practices. And we work more individually to like next week, one-on-one, a little more than we have been.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but this is my favorite time of the year. I like it. I love numbers. And, we started at
Yeah.
Kamiak, which is pretty incredible for a school that has very minimal
Yep.
returning state placers in its history. We started off with 110, 120
Nice.
kids in
See,
our room
that's
this year.
awesome.
And yeah, it's a growing sport and it's so fun. And I love that. But at the same time, I love it when it narrows down and you
Yeah.
get the dogs that are just really, you get that little more one-on-one time.
Yep.
And you can really, get some, specialized treatment for those guys who are really in it.
Yeah.
Really in it still. So I got a kind of a funny question for you. I won't take up too much more of your time, Coach, but I was at the state tournament last year. We had one state alternate go to state last year. So it was awesome. I got a coach's pass and I was able to just circle around the dome and just go watch wrestling. It was great. And kind of inspired me to start this podcast. It's like, oh, I got some time. So I was walking around the 3A corner and you guys, I don't know if it was the coach's direction or the wrestlers just did this, but you guys took over an entire locker room. And there was a sign on the door that said Mead. And I was like, this is genius. I was like, how did they pull this off? Well, and to be honest, you guys deserved it because you had an incredible amount of wrestlers at the state tournament. You broke the record for 3A points scored in the tournament in 1 year. Who did that, and how are you able to pull that off?
Well, no one's claiming it, but they are. I looked at my academic state qualifiers and stuff, and we do have pretty high GPA, but they did it, I think, a couple years, and they found their way in there, and they kind of made it their home, and everybody let them, and no one said anything, and so they did it again and again. So now they think that they deserve that or that's their spot. I don't know. So we'll probably get kicked out now and I'll have to put them back up in the stands, but I'd rather have them down there than up in the stands with parents and other people. So I don't mind so much, but I do have to go back and kick them out of there because they're sleeping and they're eating. And that's those guys. They're hiding from me.
To be honest, I was like, this is genius. Like, I mean, we're in the
Don't
Tacoma Dome.
encourage
Who
them.
cares if we're in the Tacoma Dome? You got to find your spot. You got to find out where you can rest and get a quiet space.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is awesome. But at the same time, you got so many wrestlers. So talk about your assistants. Talk about when you're managing. I know you're hoping to have the same amount of wrestlers at the Dome this year,
Yeah,
20
that'd be
plus.
awesome.
And you're going to have a lot again. It's projected to have as just as much this year. So how do you manage that many athletes as a head coach?
You know what? Just they manage themselves, and our coaches are really good. Like we're on it, and we have, I have great coaches and volunteers, and we're on their match, and I'm always watching the next match, and and we just rock and roll. We go, and it's fun because I've been there with one kid, and it's a long tournament, and in one match, and then like last year we had so many. We're sweating. We're all day. It was like really intense and so awesome just to do that all day long, coaching and yelling and screaming and going crazy and being that intense and focused. But we work together. We could assign coaches different kids sometimes because my son's really good about telling me, "Hey, Dad, you can't coach this kid because you're too old. You scare him, whatever." So that's his guy. Or and we know our guys well enough where we try to match up. They tolerate me, but they have some other coaches they really love, and they love them to coach. And so with Tebbets, Tyler, Wetzel, Marion, all of them, we just divide it up and we make sure everybody's covered. And the biggest thing I think we know is our kids are ready. They don't really need us at this point. We're just cheerleaders and living vicariously through them, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Coach Pete, again, big friend of the pod. He says that I outed you guys on the locker room thing. Maybe
Yeah,
you did, but
good.
at the end of the day, it wasn't any secret. If you're walking back in there in the hall, you saw it. And to be honest, you got to get creative. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you're the Tacoma Dome or where you're at. We got to get creative out there, especially if you have 20 kids. So sorry
Yeah,
about that,
we're
Coach.
pretty good at that. That's all right. That's right. They know I told them they shouldn't do that, and then they do. They're
Oh, you're not breaking the rules. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
it's a dog eat dog world out there. So that's good. Couple more fun questions for you before we let you go. You don't have to. Well, you got to pick one. What's the favorite? What's the favorite team that you've had over the years, or maybe most memorable? You don't have to say favorite, but most memorable team that you've had over your tenure. You've been coaching for a long time, Coach.
We
I
have.
want to ask you about a year that you were just like, man, that was a really fun year. It was a really, 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 really cool year.
What's funny is you don't really know until they're gone. But that I don't even know what year it was, but they had those 5 finalists. We broke the scoring record and Tahoma beat us, right? So we had 5 finalists, but they had more placers. So hopefully we flop that role this year. But then they go away, and you look at it, and so we had all these college wrestlers. You had Jordan Chandler Rogers, you had Voigtlander, you had Tyler McLean, you had Jeremy Golding, and those were dudes. And back then, I was just like worried they're going to get beat and how they do this in practice, and then they leave, and you go, wow, they were pretty good. But then they had conversations about would that team beat the last 2 years team. So they all argue about which team is better. And so I don't know. But I do know like this year's team, they might be my hardest workers. They're
Nice.
probably not my superstars by any means, but they are grinders. So I do really like this team. They're sitting in because that's my number one thing. If you're a worker, I can deal with anything. And these guys have showed up every day. And to be honest, like they've just worked. And so I'm pretty impressed with this team's work ethic. I think that other team was pretty talented, but I had a couple other teams. I don't know. That's a really tough question. They all have their great qualities and
Well, we'll
great.
give you some time to think about it. Maybe when we
Yeah.
cross paths at the dome, you can be like, yeah, now I
Yes.
know exactly which one of these is.
Yeah.
How about off the top of your head, like maybe the most natural athlete, the most natural, like gifted wrestler that you've
Jeremy
ever had?
Golding.
Nice.
Absolutely. I've had, Travis Pasco, NCAA
That's what I
American.
thought you were gonna say. It was Travis Pasco.
Well, and he's on his feet. There's none better. But as far as pure athleticism, I don't tell Golding that. But if you dropped him off a building, he would land on his feet, tuck and roll, and go. Like I've seen him do some things that are like totally amazing, and he has no idea. And it's just athleticism, and power and the fear of losing. I think more than anything. But he was an athlete. I would say he's the best athlete.
That's cool. What about a wrestler that comes to mind about maybe they just came from nothing up to something, the most improved wrestler that
Oh
you're just like,
boy.
wow, they came in as an 8th grader, 9th grader, and then all of a sudden by their senior years, they just
Yeah.
blossomed and you're just like, wow.
Man, I have so many, and they're my favorite because sometimes even I have a kid this year, never wrestled his freshman year, but he's as natural and he doesn't do anything wrong. And so I love that because he position wrestles, and now kids are trying to teach him a splayel and all that crap. But he's solid. I had a kid at prep once who I got to turn out as a sophomore, Bliss, and he won like one match. And then his junior year, he won half. His senior year, he placed 4th or 5th at state, and then he was All-American at PLU. So
Oh, wow.
that was a pretty steep improvement as far as. But I've had a lot of those stories that kids just start, and sometimes starting in high school is the right spot, and they're on fire, and they work hard, and by the time they're a senior, they're a rock star.
That's so cool. Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm a historian when it comes to the sport, and I'm kind of a nerd, and I just like Travis Pascal comes to mind. My brother's
Yeah.
wrestled when he was
I
wrestling.
shouldn't even say that because he was pretty dang, like he could go on his feet. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I just want to say thank you, man. Like I said, earlier today when I was texting you, trying to get your technology up to speed and make sure that you were able to get on here. That we've been trying to get you on here for a while, or at least we've just had you in the back of our mind for
Sure.
a long time, at the top of our list. And just first of all, just thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're super busy. This is the busiest time of year, right? Just as far as getting ready for the postseason and all that. And just wish you the best of luck, Coach. And come say hi to us at state, or we'll come say hi to you and whatnot. And I'd just love to shake your hand, and don't be a stranger.
Absolutely. Oh, I appreciate it. That's good stuff. Now my kids can go to bed.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah, let's get those Panthers to bed. They got to get ready.
I appreciate it. It's all good. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
All right, man. It was a pleasure, man. We'll take
Thanks
care.
a lot. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See ya. All right, guys. That was Coach Phil McLean from Mead High School with the Mead Panthers. They are ranked number 2 in 4A, and they're gunning for a state title. Like I said, they broke a scoring record for 3A last season, which is pretty incredible. And they've won 3 state titles in a row at the 3A state tournament. So Coach McLean knows what he's doing over there in Spokane, and it's really nice to be able to talk to some folks east of the mountains for us. I know that a lot of you guys have been asking us, is like, when are you going to get to this event, or when are you going to talk to so and so? It's like, well, we would love to. We're a fan of this entire state. We want to uplift everybody as much as we can. Sometimes scheduling doesn't work out, and especially us being in our first year, it's been a real grind, and we're just learning as we go. And I hope that you guys will be patient with us. Getting east of the mountains is one for sure. And then doubly, we want to get more girls stuff covered this year. We really wanted to get to braided 64 this year. It just didn't work out. So I hope that you guys are just staying patient with us, and just understand that we work really hard behind the scenes, and do the best that we can for you guys. And we don't pick favorites or anything like that. A lot of people think that we are tooting the Tahoma and Ording horn as much as we can. They are local, they're closer to us, and there's some of the better teams that are a little closer to us. So it's a little easier for us to give them, some live streams and broadcasts and all that. But at the end of the day, we try to champion this entire state. So thanks to Coach McLean for coming on. And man, that was really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Without further ado, we got some really fun stuff for you guys. I do not know if this is up yet on our website yet. I'll have to get confirmation from our IT web developer, Joshua St. Marie. But we have an all class. Actually, we're calling it all state. We're calling this all state for a specific reason. This is across the state, across the board, all state ranking for you guys. So if you head on to our website, WashingtonWrestlingNetwork.com, you guys are going to see that. We got a ranking for each weight. And there are going to be some snubs. I know these rankings are not easy, you guys. If Matt was on here, he would be all over this stuff for you. Me personally, I just like to watch wrestling. I love the rankings. It's fun to be able to watch them and see kind of where people are at, to kind of, give me some idea of where the best matchups are going to be. But at the end of the day, for the fans, you guys are able to see, who is actually the best in the entire state when it comes to 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, all the way down to B for both the boys and girls. So we have those up on the website now. You guys go take a look at those. We got top 8 for the boys and we got top 6 for the girls. The girls, again, it has been a little bit tricky for us this year, with the reason that we've mentioned before, is just that we're getting separated. We're getting a little bit, we're all over the board, right? 4A is getting separated from 3A, 2A is separated from 1A and B. And so the data that we've been able to collect in our first year hasn't been the greatest. We'll admit that, but we're trying as hard as we can. And I guarantee by next year, we're going to have this locked in and loaded for you guys, because the state tournament is really going to help us out a lot with that. So we're really excited about that. So go over to WashingtonWrestlingNetwork.com and check that stuff out. And then we just launched our team rankings as well. Most updated team rankings for each classification are up on our website as well. And I'm going to share some of these with you guys, and we'll kind of talk about them. And I encourage you guys to get in the comments here as well, because this is actually really fun. I want you guys to see some of this stuff and talk about it. And we can, if you guys comment on something, maybe we can talk about it a little bit and be like, okay, well, why is this team ranked here? The first thing I'll say is that we have a formula when it comes to these team rankings. We're not going to fully share this formula with you guys, but it's based on a team tournament style format, right? So you get advancement points and you get placing points, right? So what we did is, I'm not going to dive into this fully, but at the end of the day, is what we took is a small chunk of data from each state tournament, each classification. And it's like, okay, well, if a guy placed first in state, we'll take, 10 of those wrestlers who placed first in state. How many points did they score for their team? Take the average of that, and then you plug that into each individual ranking. Say, the guy's ranked first in state. We anticipate he's going to get first in state. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but that's where he's ranked. They are going to earn that average of the points that they scored for their team for each wrestle for each team. So that's kind of how we generate it. It's not going to be entirely accurate as rankings, are in general. But for each one, this is kind of how we anticipate seeing it going. So finally, we were able to get into our girls' small school rankings this year. Again, we've just been swamped, with our first year and trying to get all this stuff put together, live streams, rankings, and all that stuff. But we have the girls' rankings here for small school. And again, we know that, let me try to get on the screen here. We know that the small school girls are going to be separate from 2A and 1AB. The reason that we weren't able to separate these rankings right now is just data. We just don't have enough data. Some of these small schools, either one, they don't have enough wrestlers, or two, they're not going to enough tournaments for us to just plug in a wrestler who, might not be deserving of a ranking yet. So we just decided to combine, once again, the small school girls, 2A, 1A, and B. And this is where your rankings are playing out. The biggest thing on this one so far is Granger. We did not have them in our previous ranking for this. They jumped up 9 spots, and that's a big testament to their success at Braided and some of those other tournaments that they went to this year. Kiara Torres, the Berger sisters, fantastic squad out of Granger, and they made their way up to the top 2. They're obviously Toppenish stays at number 1. They're nationally ranked at this point. Fantastic squad, continuing to produce phenomenal female wrestlers out of that school. Friend of the podcast, Adeline Montiel, Michaela Torres, Sophia Torres, fantastic wrestlers out of Toppenish. They'll be separate this year, though. So Toppenish is going to be at the 2A tournament. Granger is going to be at the 1AB tournament. So that's kind of how we anticipate those 2 top teams going this year. And I'd like to, I put my money on both of those teams win state at each of their classifications. Other than that, the big jump was with Freda moving up, and we just discovered a few wrestlers jumping up there, getting big wins at big tournaments, right? Placing really high at big tournaments that, you add wrestlers to your list, they're going to jump up. So that's your small school girls. Again, by next year, we're going to have 2A and B separate. and we'll be able to compile some more data, some more wrestlers for you guys to be able to show you some a little more accuracy when it comes to the separation of both those classifications. Let's move on. That's the wrong one. Let's go 4A girls. All right, let's go 3A girls team. Oh, no, that's 3A team. 4A girls. We have Sumner at number 1. This is no change. They have a completely full of depth team that likes Bailey Wagner, Sage McCleary. Again, if you're ranked number 1, both of them are ranked number 1. Bailey Wagner, Sage McCleary. They're both fantastic wrestlers. Ranked number 1. They're going to score you a lot of points for your team. You don't even need to have that much depth, which they already do. That leaves them at the number 1 spot. Not a lot of huge changes other than Davis, which again is kind of similar to Afreda, where you add wrestlers, right? Reynaldo Gonzalez comes to mind, a freshman, U14 dual team member who comes onto the scene. These freshmen who come onto the scene and they start making noise, they're going to add to your rankings. They're going to add to your team score and bump your team up quite a bit as well. Sunnyside's another one as well who just really has had freshmen come in and we're able to notice them and add them to our rankings, which really improves your team score. I did upload the girls 3A team here. So 3A, that's 3A. This is 3A team. Okay, I'm going to bump over to, I don't think I uploaded the BA, or I'm sorry, the 3A girls team scores. So I apologize for that, but you can find it on our website. I'm going to bump over to the boys, small school teams. We finally have our B rankings, individual rankings up on our website. So you guys can go take a look at that. I know it's been a long wait for you guys, and you guys have been asking about it for a long time. So when are you guys going to have the B rankings up? We're finally here. They're on our website, so you guys can go check out the individual rankings. This is a product of our individual rankings, once again, for small school team rankings here. Tenasket, Okanagan, number 1 and 2. That was no change from our previous ranking. I'm showing no change on any of these rankings because we didn't publish the first one, so I don't want you guys to think that we're just making this up out of thin air. It's Tenasket and Okanagan have been number 1 the whole season. They're kind of interchangeable. Both of them should be number 1 and 2 in the state this year. 3 through 10, it's kind of a crapshoot. A lot of these teams are going to be shuffling around. Liberty Bell, I know the Paz brothers are super tough. They're going to get you a lot of team points. But again, if you guys want to go check the individual rankings out on the website, that'll kind of give you a story about where these team rankings generated from. 1A boys, Wapato, no change at the top again, and this is a product of their depth. It's kind of what Coach McLean was just talking about. More wrestlers you got at state, the higher chance you got at scoring a lot of points, right? Obviously, you want your wrestlers to do well and score more points for you, but Wapato is just one of those schools that just has a ton of wrestlers and some good ones, if that. Not too much has changed other than I really want to highlight Kashmir here. Kashmir, I don't know what happened to them last year. I mean, they might have had a lot of injuries, but I know that Jance Novak, I believe, is ranked number 1 at 165, I believe. And then the Pell brothers have had incredible wins this year, wrestling some really, really tough schools in 3A and 4A. They jump up 8 spots to number 6, and to be honest, they're young too. I would imagine that Kashmir is going to be a good team for a long time, and I'm really excited to see what they do at state this year. Let's move on to 2A boys. No, not a lot of changes here. Ording number 1, Toppenish number 2. I know Toppenish is like, what are you doing? You guys are the big Ording fans over there. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of state finals matches that could determine this, right? Similar to what we saw in the dual meet that we live stream. Any of those matches flip, which potentially could be state finals matches, could flip this. But right now, the amount of wrestlers that are ranked number 1 for Ording really pushed them to the top. Toppenish is close, but I would stick around. If I'm a 3A, 4A fan, I would stay for Saturday to watch finals for 2A on Saturday at the Dome, because it's going to be fireworks. It's going to be a lot of Ording, a lot of Toppenish, and it could determine who's the team state champion this year. No changes other than Chief South and C-Lab moving up 4 spots to enter the top 10. Moving on to 3A team, no changes at the top. Hermiston number 1, White River number 2, University up 4 spots to number 3. And that's just, to be honest, that is not wrestlers moving up in the rankings. That's more of just like wrestlers who have been added to rankings, right? So it's the discovery of wrestlers that have moved University up over Lincoln, and we know how tough Lincoln is, right? You got those. You could have 3 state champions at Lincoln this year, maybe even 4. But University with the depth has moved them up to number 3. Silas moving up in 3 spots, and Snohomish moving up 3 spots. That's Silas is more of a product of wrestlers moving up ranks rather than adding wrestlers, and then Snohomish is more of a product of adding wrestlers to ranks. And the Schwarbenbauer brothers are both really moving up their individual rankings to help their team score out as well. 4A team, no changes at the top. Tahoma, Mead, Skyview. Coach McLean, I know that he is hoping to hunt for that number 1 spot, and we'll see what happens. I know Tahoma's got a tough district. We'll see how many guys they can get through. Same with Mead. They got a super tough district as well. It's really, to be honest, it's gonna come down to the amount of wrestlers that are scoring points for your team in those top 2 teams. Skyview is more of a top heavy team. They got the DeRoche's brothers and JJ Schoenlein, 175 pounds. 3 potential state champions. That's really going to boost their team score quite a bit. But that 1-2 matchup there is just, how many guys are you going to have scoring points for you? No other major changes other than Bethel moving up, and I think that's kind of a product of guys moving up rankings. I think of Earl Taylor getting a big win over Tai Satai come from Ording, moving up rankings, helping his team out with some scores there. We'll see how he does at state. And then this one makes me laugh, is Lake Stevens finally cracking the top 10. They're not going anywhere, you guys. Lake Stevens is always going to be fantastic. They have a community of wrestlers. They are going to bring guys out of nowhere every single year. And that is because of their youth program, and it's because of the community that they built. And they try to hide these guys from us, but we found them. And by the time that they hosted their own tournament, we found some of those top dogs, and we bumped them up some spots into those individual rankings, and now they're finally cracked up and they're in the top 10. It'll be interesting to me to see if they do crack the top 10 or not this year, because I can't remember the last time they haven't been in the top 10. It's got to be before Barnes was even coaching. So I know that they have their backs against the wall a little bit this year, just kind of being a down year, but they're going to reload like they always do. And I'd reckon I'd put my money on them being in the top 10, to be honest. That they'll find a way. 3A girls team. Okay, I do have it here. So we're going to bump back over to 3A girls team. Peninsula number 1, no change. They have so many wrestlers that are ranked. It's insane. I don't see anybody beating them at state this year. Just the amount of wrestlers that they have, and they have really great wrestlers. Pleasure of meeting Mira Sonnen at Gut Check. Fantastic gal. Bailey Wagner, both ranked number 1. Kelso, amazing team as well. Bobby Friend and some of the coaches down there are doing a great job. They're in the top 3 as well. And then Everett, again, we don't have a ton of data when it comes to the girls. So right now, Everett's getting bumped up to the top 10 right now, just based on top ranked wrestlers. So the Seneca sisters are really going to score a lot of points for that team this year. And I don't know if they have the depth to get in the top 10, but right now that's where we have them projected. So that's that for team rankings. I'm going to pop back over to the comments, see if you guys got anything here. I got a Silas shout out. I've got an Oak Harbor shout out. And then, yes, Miss Seneca, Everett is in there. And that's a testament to your daughters. They've done a fantastic job of getting them in there. Devin Fry, I have Lincoln and Silas being in the top 5, no question. We'll see what happens. Tacoma Wrestling is really showing out this year. And you guys are sleeping on Spanaway Lake. I really wanted this comment today, you guys. When I was doing the 4A team rankings, Spanaway Lake has a ton of good kids. The problem is that a lot of their kids aren't ranked very high, and that doesn't mean that they can't do well at state. They certainly could make noise. They're right on the fringe of like that, 7 to 15 range, based on our projections. But yeah, Spanaway Lake is a really good team. They score really high at big tournaments this year. I think at Pac Coast, Hammerhead. I think they won Hammerhead as far as 4A teams go. Yeah, Spanaway Lake is really, really, really tough. They have an incredible depth. I don't know who's coaching out there right now, but they have a really, really good team. So yeah, thanks for the comment, Devin Fry. Let me scroll around here a little bit. Why are the 1A and 2A girls together? I explained this. I don't know if you commented on this before I explained it, but yeah, again, we just don't have enough data to separate the two right now, and so we're just combining them so that we can give love to everybody. I suppose we could have done like a top 5 for each, but right now we just don't have enough wrestlers ranked in each classification to really justify the separation of those. By next year, I think we will. Let me see what else we have. Not you, bro. If you did not put MP at the top, like, bro, come on, we went 17-0. Okay, 17-0 in duels is different than going 17-0 at state. So a lot of people are thinking, hey, like, we have a great dual team. Yeah, you might have a great dual team, but how many wrestlers are you bringing to state? I know MP is a great team, and they're going to bring a lot of wrestlers to state. How many points are you going to score for your team, though? That's kind of the biggest thing. If you have wrestlers if you have 3 state champions, you can beat a team that has 16 wrestlers and they all go 2 and out. So I'm not saying that's the case for Marysville Pilchuck, but just the way the projections play out as far as where we think the MP wrestlers are going to place, that's just kind of where they end up. But yeah, Marysville Pilchuck's a fantastic team. Aiden Ford, districts and state champ. Aiden Ford, got to meet him at Gut Check. Fantastic wrestler. And I don't think he's lost this year, and he's beaten everybody all over the board. I really hope he joins a dual team this year because we need him. And Freda and Quincy wrestle tomorrow. I think Amber's talking about the girls. That'll be interesting. We'll see if we can adjust some rankings tomorrow based on that. I'd like to get confirmation if that's the girls or the boys, or if not, it's both. But if it's Freda and Quincy in the top 10, we'll be looking out for them. Why is Elma still below Montesano when we beat them in league duels? Again, you guys, duels are different than team scoring. So if you beat somebody in a duel, that means that your top 14 beat their top 14, right? If you guys have wrestlers that are placing very high at state and you have more wrestlers placing high at state, then you're going to score more points for your team at the end of the day. So duels are completely separate than team scoring. That's how we come up with the projections. We would love to have a dual state tournament someday. I think that'd be fantastic. I think it's actually in the works. When I was wrestling, my Snohomish team got second in state to Lake Stevens in 2008. We beat them in a dual meet that year. And it was pretty disheartening when we got to state. They just had more depth than we did, and it sucked. So we would love to see that someday, to maybe see if we can get a dual team tournament going. I think that really shows how tough your team is as far as like across the board, each and every weight. That would be really, really fun. But it's a good comment, and it's a good thing to bring up because, yeah, team scoring is completely different than dual meet scoring. It's a great time to start talking about top high school dual teams. Next year, we get to wrestle for dual state champions next year. So, Tony, I don't know if you should comment again. I don't know if this is official or not, but this is what I just talked about. I really hope that we get a dual team tournament. I would be the front runner for that. That would be fantastic to get a dual team tournament going. It would be so fun to see who's the best dual team. And to be honest, our favorite live streams to do are the duels. It gets your team really rallied together. I know when we get in that tournament setting, it's the teams are kind of shuffled. You got one guy wrestling way over there. You got another guy wrestling way over there. The dual team tournament would be so much fun. You look at when the college teams do it, like the women's college national duels. You look at some of those highlights from Flow Wrestling and about how excited they got. So their teams got on those benches, jumping up and down. I think of national duels, 14U, 16U junior duels, about how the team kind of rallies around together. when those dual teams are going on, the dual team matches are going on. It's really, really exciting, and I really hope that we can get that going. More to come on that. We'll see if it becomes official. Jimmy Belleville, 4-time state champ from Black Hills High School. He was on my national dual team. Projects are fun. Projects are for fun, and this is to drive these kids to work hard and the coaches to push the kids. As an athlete, don't worry about, he's talking about projections. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, as a coach, Coach Bell was right. This is for the fans. If you get too caught up in this noise as a wrestler, I don't think you're doing yourself any favors. It's kind of a good measuring stick, I think, for you. It's okay to look at it, but don't dive too much into it. I think Coach Bevel is right there. Yeah, this is we're more than just a podcast for wrestlers and coaches. You know, we're trying to grow this sport as a fan base. We're trying to market this, and yeah, if you're not ranked number one and you think you deserve to be ranked number one, go out there and wrestle. And prove why you deserve to be ranked number one. That's what it's all about. That's a good comment, Coach. And there you go. He just corrected himself. Milente Photography, partner of the pod. I was there and it was insane. I don't know what you're talking about. But if you guys get a chance, go check out Milente Photography. She does a great job, and she's been helping us out with a lot of photos this year, and got a chance to meet her at a couple tournaments this year, and she's a fantastic gal and does a really good job with photography. And if you guys want to get some individual shots or anything like that at a tournament, hit her up. If she's there, she'll be able to take some shots for you. And yeah, we just really appreciate her and what she does for the sport. I am going to end the team rankings section and move on to our nominations. So I'm hoping that you guys saw this on our Discord and on Facebook today. We want to do an end of the year nominations thing, and I don't know how well it's going to go this year. We hope that this thing grows every single year. But we want to get your guys' nominations for each individual. Well, it's not individual weight class. We broken them up into chunks. So for girls, we have strawweight, flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, and ironweight. They're just chunked into like 3 or 4 weight classes. So if you guys could nominate your wrestler of the year for each of those, and then the same thing with the boys, we chunked them into flyweight, bantamweight, welterweight, middleweight, and heavyweight. And we would love to give you guys some virtual awards this year, and maybe someday we'll be able to give you actually some like hardware moving forward. That'd be really cool. And then again, we got Coach of the Year for boys and girls, Most Improved Wrestler for boys and girls, Freshman of the Year. That will be a really fun one to see who you think is the Freshman of the Year for boys and girls. Most Improved Team for each boys and the girls. You know, like Cashmere comes to mind for the boys. You know, they came out of nowhere this year. You know, let us know who you think should be the most improved team for the boys and girls. Coach of the Year, boys and girls. Small School of the Year for boys and girls. So that'd be 1A and B. We're going to chunk those into 1A and B. Who's your Small School of the Year team award there? Tournament of the Year. You know, what was your best tournament that you went to? The one that was the most fun? Was it Braided 64? Was it Pac Coast? Was it Hammerhead? Was it Tri-State? Within the state, what do you think was the best tournament of the year? Not the one that you maybe did the best at, but the one that you had the best experience at. And that can come from a coach, a wrestler, a fan, anybody. Hospitality room of the year. This one's really fun to me. Is like this one's more for the coaches or for towel tappers and volunteers. Which hospitality room did you think was the best of the year? Who had the best food? Issaquah, Justice for All comes to mind for me. But let us know in the comments and on our Discord what you guys think was the best hospitality room. That's kind of a fun one. And then lastly, most valuable wrestler. Who's the best wrestler that you guys think is in the entire state? Give us a nomination for each one boy, one girl. It'll be kind of like our Dave Schultz Award for the Washington Wrestling Network. Who do you think is deserving of the most valuable wrestler? And that could be anybody, any weight class, boys or girls. We just want to see who wins that category as well. And this will be a community decision. We want your guys' nominations to help us out with this, so we can get an idea of like kind of what you guys are thinking. But again, we would love to hear from you guys and see what you guys think. And again, go onto our Discord because we would love to see, you know, we would love to get you guys to engage in our Discord. I think it's a really cool spot for you guys to go on our forum and go on some of those separate channels to be able to kind of banter back and forth and see who has what to say for each of those awards. Moving on. Oh, okay. So district to state format. I'm going to bring up this overlay here. So you guys see this map here. So these are the 6 districts that go to state, and this is more of an educational thing for you guys. Each one of these districts sends a certain amount of wrestlers who qualify for state, right? So District 3 typically sends the most. District 2 sends probably the second most, but they're all divided up geographically, right? So each one of these districts is going to have its own district tournament this weekend. The only caveat to this is District 3 for 4A, at least as far as I know, is going to be split up into 2 sub-districts to qualify for state. So NPSL and SPSL, that's the North Puget Sound League and the South Puget Sound League. The North Puget Sound League gets 4 to state, and the South Puget Sound League gets 7 to state. So there's 11 wrestlers from District 3 that are going to be going to state this year. And the idea behind that is just the amount of teams that they have in each district. And we talked about this with Coach McLean earlier. And there's a little bit of flaw in the system, but we'll kind of see how it goes this year. But the idea is that we're going to create a 32 person bracket for each classification for the state tournament. And so based on all those numbers, depending on the amount of qualifiers you have for state, it'll be a 32 person bracket. The first thing that comes to mind with this is I'll put this back up here, is District 4 for 4A only gets 2 wrestlers to state. And that's because they only have 4 teams wrestling in their tournament. So if they have 2 per team for each weight class, that'd be 8 person bracket to get to state. And so you look at a weight class like 4A 144, District 4, Noah Koyama, Andrew Gray, and Alec Frazier all in the same weight class. One of those guys is going to be an alternate if they all choose to wrestle at 144. So that'll be interesting to watch. District 5 only gets 3 to state. So District 5, you think of teams like Moses Lake, Richland, Chihuahua, some of those teams in the Yakima Valley. I don't think Toppenish is going to have too much of an issue with this in 2A, but 4A will be really interesting to see there in District 5 to see how many wrestlers are, not how many wrestlers are going to get through to state, but how many wrestlers that they don't get through to state based on their district tournament. So really, really tough districts. 3 and 5 are what come to mind, just only getting 2 and 3 wrestlers to state. And 4A is pretty incredible, and it'll be interesting to watch this weekend. So keep an eye out for that. Went through team rankings. I wanted to give a quick shout out to D'Anthony Reyes Garcia. I know this is kind of a hard segue, but I know he's ranked number 2 for SELA at 2A at 106 pounds. He's going through a hard time right now. I just want you guys to keep him in your thoughts and prayers. As a Washington Wrestling Network community, we try to rally around our people who are going through tough times. He's got a family member who is going through some surgeries, and mom reached out and wanted to highlight him, and I totally agreed. I was like, you know what, this is what the platform's for. Anytime that somebody's going through a tough time, I know D'Anthony's going to be wrestling at the district tournament this weekend, and he was on the junior dual team with Coach Zuniga this year, and I got to meet him at Gut Check, and just a fantastic kid. And I just want to highlight him and just let you guys know that, or let him know that, and his family know that, he's in our thoughts and prayers, and that we're a community, and that we're always going to rally around people who go through tough times. And, no matter who it is, if you're in this community, we're going to be praying for you no matter what. And prayers up for you, D'Anthony, and your family, and Kimberly, and just thanks for reaching out. And we hope for the best for you guys, and good luck to Anthony this weekend. Last thing, Westbrook, you guys, we are sponsored by Westbrook, and we are so happy to be sponsored by them. It's a film for wrestlers, by wrestlers, with wrestlers, and it is going to be coming out this fall. And we are so excited to be sponsored by them, you guys. lot of exciting trailers coming out and cameos coming out of people who are going to be involved with this film. Olympic gold medalist Adeline Gray, Shane Sparks, who you guys see on every single Matt Madness or NCAA wrestling finals, lead announcer for ESPN. Shane Sparks is in it. Chael Sonnen, UFC champion out of Westland, Oregon. He's in the film. And then you got local wrestlers like Adrian Windsor, Kamai Gearland. It's going to be a really cool film, you guys. And I'm not just saying that, because we're partnering with them. Like I've met the director of this film, fantastic guy. And I've seen some of the behind the scenes stuff. And I hope that you guys enjoy it when it comes out. But at the same time, be on the watch for it. And if you guys get a chance to meet Greg Marks at the state tournament, go give him a high five and tell him he's doing a great job, because that's what we're all about here in this Washington wrestling community is uplifting each other. And we got a really cool film coming out of our own state, which is really, really cool. The film showcases authentic wrestling scenes with real-time commentary. So it's all real wrestling. Some of the wrestlers that are in there, like Adrian Windsor and Kamaya and all them, they're actually wrestling, right? It's not staged. They're actually wrestling, and it's gonna be a really, really cool film. So I hope you guys get to check that out in the fall. But in the meantime, let's give Westbrook all the support that we can. And with that, I got Trevor Mills saying that Linwood's hospitality is up there. The Linwood Royal Classic does have a really good hospitality room. I'm in there as well. That's a really, really good one. One more comment. Can you send Ronaldo Gonzalez a shout out from Davis High School? Absolutely. We already did. She's a big reason why Davis is ranked up even higher. Chiawana and Richland are District 6. Could be right about that. I could be wrong. So there is a little bit of crossover there when it comes to like the Yakima Valley and Tri-Cities and all that. I believe Moses Lake is 5. Chiawana and Richland could be District 6. Yeah, you could be right about that. That cutoff there on the map doesn't really show it exactly. But without further ado, you guys, I appreciate you guys coming on and let me do this solo without my partner in crime, Matt Beck. I know that he's probably tired after his district meeting, and we're all getting ready for districts. The road to the Dome begins now, and we're excited to see you guys wrestle this weekend. And best of luck to all the people competing, all the wrestlers competing, all the coaches coaching, all the fans. And we just appreciate you guys' support, and we'll see you on the next one.
Westbrook, a wrestler's story. A movie for wrestlers, with wrestlers, by wrestlers.